Have you ever had to watch someone live in the exact shoes they once forced you to wear, smiling like they didn't even remember how much it hurt you? That's what my teenage years felt like, a constant front row seat to Lila's undeserved luxury, while I, the younger and apparently less responsible sister, got stuck with whatever scraps were left over. Our parents didn't see it as unfair. They called it practical. Lila, being 2 years older, supposedly had more maturity and self-discipline. So naturally, she got the bigger bedroom. Not just bigger, this was the room. The one with a walk-in closet you could practically live in, an attached bathroom with a marble sink, and a bay window that caught every ray of sunlight. Oh, and a fireplace. An actual fireplace. Who even has that in a bedroom anymore? Meanwhile, my room was about the size of an overgrown pantry. It had a broken window that wouldn't latch properly, letting in a draft that could chill you to the bone in winter. In January, I'd sometimes wake up with frost clinging to the edges of my blanket. The walls were painted a washed-out yellow that looked like it hadn't been touched since the 80s. And no matter how much I rearranged the furniture, there was barely room to walk without bumping into something. When I turned 16, I decided it was time to make my case. I stood in the kitchen one evening, hands clenched at my sides, rehearsing the pitch I'd been building for months. "Mom, Dad, I think we should switch rooms," I began. "It makes more sense now. I'm older. I could actually use the closet space." And, before I could finish, Lila cut in with her signature eye roll. "Maya, you're way too messy for the nice room. Maybe when you prove you can keep your space clean." I opened my mouth to argue, but she smirked like she'd just delivered a final verdict. My parents didn't even counter her logic. They just nodded along like she'd made an irrefutable point. The truth, Lila's room was always a disaster. Clothes piled knee-high in corners, makeup smeared across her vanity like a crime scene, and coffee cups balanced on shelves until they sprouted little green ecosystems. But somehow her messianism was never brought up in family conversations. Mine was. Constantly. Daily life in our house meant living on Lila's schedule too. Since she had her own bathroom, she took her sweet time every morning, hour-long showers, blow-drying her hair like she was prepping for a magazine shoot, and locking the door while she scrolled through her phone in there. Meanwhile, I was pacing outside, banging on the door to my own small bathroom, begging to brush my teeth before school. On weekends when my friends came over, things didn't get better. Lila would hole up in her throne room with the door locked, blasting music loud enough to rattle the picture frames in the hallway. That left me to entertain people in my cramped, airless space. 2 people could barely fit without bumping elbows, and if someone tried to sit on the bed, we had to rearrange everything just to make room. Whenever I complained, Lila's go-to response was, "It builds character." She'd say it with that airy, self-satisfied tone that made me want to scream. "Maya needs to learn responsibility. Before she gets nice things," she'd tell our parents, as if she were some kind of benevolent queen guiding her unruly subject. The irony was thick enough to choke on. Responsibility, Lila had mastered. The art of avoiding it. She dodged chores with last-minute excuses, conveniently forgot about family obligations, and treated her job at the local smoothie place like it was optional. But somehow, her word was gospel in our house, and I was just expected to take it. I think what stung most was that it wasn't just about the physical space. It was the principle of it. The bigger room was symbolic. It was the place of privilege, of freedom, of being treated as if you'd already made it in life, even though we were both still under the same roof. Lila got to live in that bubble, and I had to peer in from the outside, knowing it wasn't about earning it. It was about birth order and my parents' misplaced belief that she'd set an example for me. The years crawled by. Lila graduated, high school first, of course. Everyone assumed she'd be off to college, or maybe moving into her own place. I let myself hope, just a little, that I'd finally get the room I'd wanted for so long. But that hope didn't even make it through. The summer? Within weeks of her graduation ceremony, Lila was right back in her precious room, like nothing had changed. She claimed she was just figuring things out before committing to anything big. Translation? She wanted to keep living at home, for free. with all her luxuries intact. That was the summer I decided I wouldn't spend another year stuck in the same small space. Waiting for permission to live a better life, I stopped asking for room switches or bigger closets. Instead, I started planning my exit. I kept my grades up, applied for every scholarship I could find, and took extra shifts at the bookstore downtown to save money. Every time Lila tossed her hair and told me, "You'll get nice things when you're ready for them," I nodded silently. Filing away the memory for the day I'd finally prove her wrong. What Lila didn't realize was that her little lectures were planting seeds, not of self-improvement, but of quiet, stubborn determination. I wasn't going to beg for the bigger room anymore. I was going to build a whole life where she couldn't touch the keys to any of the doors. And when that day came, I already knew exactly what I'd say. If my teenage years were a study in unfairness, my 20s became the opposite. A slow, deliberate climb out of the shadow I'd been shoved into. I earned a full-ride scholarship to MIT, which shocked exactly no one except Lila, who seemed genuinely baffled that I'd even applied. The years there were brutal. I balanced 3 part-time jobs, tutoring freshmen in calculus, working the late shift at a coffee shop, and coding for a startup that paid in pizza for the first 6 months. Sleep was optional. Caffeine was mandatory. Every few weeks, my phone would light up with Lila's name. Her life had turned into a carousel of short-lived retail jobs. Target for a while, then a clothing boutique, then a stint at Starbucks. That ended after she didn't vibe with the management. She joined a couple of MLM schemes too, selling essential oils and overpriced skincare kits to her Facebook friends until she was $5,000 in debt. She'd call me crying about her boss being toxic or her downline not being committed. I'd listen between bites of stale vending machine granola bars, pulling all-nighters on group projects. "You work too much," she'd say, her voice dripping with faux concern. "You're just running away from family." No, I wanted to tell her, "I'm running toward a life you can't control." But I kept it polite. "I'm building my career." 4 years later, diploma in hand, I landed a starting position as a software engineer in Silicon Valley. My first year's salary was $120,000, more money than I'd ever seen in my life. I threw myself into it, soaking up experience, tackling ambitious projects, and climbing the ladder fast. By year 3, I'd been promoted twice, and my salary had doubled. Then came the moment I'd been working toward since that day in the kitchen when I was 16. I bought my first house, not just any house, a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath beauty in Palo Alto with soaring ceilings, hardwood floors, and a master suite that made Lila's old throne room look like a dorm. The walk-in closet was bigger than my parents' entire kitchen. The bathroom had a rainfall shower that felt like standing under a warm summer storm, a soaking tub with jets, and heated floors that turned every step into a little luxury. Sunlight poured in from tall windows, the kind you only see in magazines. It was the kind of space I'd dreamed about for years. Back when I was huddled under extra blankets in that freezing little room, I posted photos on Instagram. It's one of the closet, one of the bathroom, and one of me holding the keys in front of the big double doors. It didn't take long. My phone buzzed. "Lila, Maya," she breathed. "Your place is gorgeous. I mean, it's so big. We could totally share it. You know, like old times. Remember our sleepovers?" I almost laughed. "Lila, you're too messy for the nice room," I said, sweetness coating every word. "Maybe when you prove you can keep your space clean?" Silence. A solid 10 seconds of it. "That's not fair," she finally snapped. "I'm your sister." "It builds character," I replied, just as sweetly as she had said it to me 100 times before. "You need to learn responsibility before you get nice things." "You're seriously throwing my own words back at me," she demanded. "I'm just looking out for you," I said. "The guest room has great character, very cozy, builds resilience." She hung up on me. 2 hours later, Mom called. "Maya, what did you say to your sister? She's crying. She says you're being cruel." "I offered her a place to stay," I said. "How is that cruel?" "She just needs some support right now," Mom said. her tone sharp. "She's getting the same support she gave me for 18 years," I said flatly. That ended the conversation. In the end, Lila didn't move in with me. Instead, she moved back in with our parents. But her old room, the one with the fireplace, the big windows, and the closet, had been converted into Mom's craft room. The only space left for her was my old shoebox of a room. The broken window was still stuck open. I almost wished I could see her face the first morning she woke up to frost on her blankets. Last week, she posted on Facebook asking if anyone knew about job openings. I couldn't resist. I commented, "Have you tried building character? I hear it's great for career development." She blocked me within an hour. Totally worth it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't slamming the door in someone's face. It's opening it just wide enough to give them exactly what they once gave you, and watching them try to live with it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more of these stories. We have also handpicked 2 more stories that we believe you will enjoy watching. Enjoy.